got Vergil fighting against Lubin, a great fighter in his own right. And then you got, again, the one and only Bam Rodriguez going back in and unify again. Talk to us about it.
They're fighting 2 weeks apart, so it's great to have them both in camp right now. Bam, by the time Vergil is getting ready to fight in Dallas Fort Worth, Bam will be flying to Saudi.
Wow.
Right after Vergil's fight. I'll be headed out there too to catch up with the team. But they're both starting great camps. They're both very dedicated. I think those two guys are two examples of what it takes to become a champion. Two examples of all this 20, 30 guys that we have working out right now, that they could see, what it takes to become champion. Vergil and Bam are the perfect example. I've had a lot of those. Jose Ramirez is another example. Obviously Jose has already lost his titles and stuff like that, but he's a perfect example of what it takes to train hard and to become a world champion. These two right now, Vergil and Bam, perfect example. Can't go wrong with, seeing all these guys, see them and train together so they could have an idea what it takes.
Expectation versus such a good fighter like Erickson Lubin for Vergil Ortiz Jr. Erickson Lubin, a good fighter in his own right, only has lost to the top guys in the sport.
Yep. No, it's a great fight. It's a great matchup. I think Vergil, Vergil is all he's looking for is the big fights. And if we couldn't do it against Sandra, if we couldn't do it against Boots, because of Boots decided to stay at 147, one more fight, and now he's at 54, but he wanted one stay busy fight, which I don't blame either. I'm not mad at him for doing that. So the next big fight out there, Lubin was available, and we did it. We take those challenges. There's for Vergil and Bam. There's no, it doesn't even, prepare a stay busy fight for them. I just stay, comfortable fight. They don't even want it. Bam for sure doesn't even want it.
No,
Vergil doesn't like that.
He wants
the big fights. He wants to fight the best. They want to fight the best. They want the unifications. Bam wants to become undisputed. A fight that's not gonna motivate him, that meaning something, he won't even take. He doesn't like those fights.
But how do you manage that? I mean, how do you manage that when we start talking about you picture the fighters as this unbelievable glass ball that is sturdy and strong, but you're throwing it up against a harder and harder wall each time and looking to see what's broken. How do you keep these guys from destroying themselves almost?
We know what we got. We know what we got. We know where they're at in their careers. We know that there's nobody out there that could beat them. Look, Vergil at 154. There's 4 champions. Vergil's the interim WBC champion, but I think Vergil's the best at that division. The WBC doesn't call out the mandatory, which they should have done it 2 fights ago, where Fondora has to fight Vergil, because Vergil's the interim champion. When you become interim, it's for one reason, because the champion is maybe injured, maybe in reasons, maybe he has another fight that he already committed, so let's do an interim. But the moment that what's up, Tony? But the moment that the champion is available, he has to fight the interim champion. That's the way it is. That's the laws. That's the rules. But they just don't do it. So Vergil's not champion because the WBC hasn't forced Fondora to fight Vergil. There's the other 3 champions. Santos Ayas became champion. There was a lot of talk. Santos Ayas' team and promoters were never gonna allow that, because he became a champion at 22. He's from Puerto Rico. They want to make him a superstar.
Right.
Puerto Rican, super welterweight. Cotto, very few have done it. He's one of them. So they're gonna make him a superstar, and I don't blame him either. So he's not available.
Did you say Vergil ruins all of that?
So exactly. The IBF champion, I think Vergil knocks out. But the IBF has a second day weigh-in, where Vergil could only gain 10 pounds. And everybody knows Vergil's health issues, what he's gone through in the past. So we can't do that with Vergil.
Right.
That's the only reason Vergil
went the IBF route.
Because we have to avoid the IBF, because of that. Unless it's a unification, but he has to win a main title to do a unification. Then the second day win doesn't apply. But otherwise, we can't. There's no way we could. So that's, you know what I mean. So that's the reason why I think we're just the best 154 pounder in the division. He just, still doing good. Interim champion. Still a champion. Still making, a lot of fucking money. Still getting great paydays. Still picking the best out there. Lubin is one of the best. So, until we get a champion that says, fuck that, I want to fight, or Fondora say, you know what? When is my mandatory coming? Right. When am I going to do my mandatory?
Right.
It's going to be Vergil. Fondora is great. He's doing fucking great. He's got so much better. He's improved so much. I think Fondora's going to beat Thurman pretty bad. I think he's going to beat Thurman pretty bad.
I talk to Fondora. I talk to Fondora all the time, but he told me something a couple of days ago that really stuck out. Is he said, Marcus, I've matured so much. My punch placement has drastically improved.
100%.
Because I've become a more calm fighter.
100%.
Can you talk to us about that?
I've seen that happen. I give nothing but respect to him and his dad. They're doing such a great job. The sister who fights this weekend.
Gabby's fighting on the 20th at Fantasy Springs.
She's undisputed. She's the best woman fighter of the year. The brother is unbelievable, man. He's improved so much. He's got so much better. He's learned so much. So honestly, they're here locally, Southern California. They're great people. I give them nothing but respect, nothing but great things to them because they know how I feel about them. But I do have Vergil, who is his mandatory. So let's do them.
Let's get that together next.
What after that fight, he's fighting in October. Vergil's fighting in November. Hopefully, he tells Suleiman and he tells PBC. Hey guys, I want to do my mandatory, because that's my mandatory. Don't go circles around it. Right. That's my mandatory. Let's do it.
What does that fight look like?
Fucking badass fight. Woo. I think Vergil's the best at 154, but Fondora is a fucking bad dude. I love Fondora. As a person, he's one of the best kids to know about in boxing. He's not cocky. He says hi to everybody. He's always going to be very friendly. He's one of the best people in boxing right now.
But fights like he.
But when the fights happen, and when the fight happens with Vergil, then obviously we're gonna do what it takes to win. But nothing personal. It's just a fight.
Lamont Roach, Pitbull Cruz. Have you been hearing about that?
Yeah.
It looks like it's announced.
Yeah,
what
December.
What do you think about that fight?
Whoa, that's gonna be a badass fight. I gotta go with the Mexican fighter, even though we've had a little bit of differences with, me beating him with Rayo and Pitbull being a little open, saying that we danced and ran, and then what happened with Fierro, which was our bad that we didn't make weight. Fierro's bad choices when he's off camp. It happens in boxing. We're not the first time, so he went a little open on his feelings.
Yeah, he went in on you guys,
which I also don't blame him either. But I gotta go with him against Roach. Roach he looked so good against Tank, and that's why Tank chose not to fight him. But that was once in a lifetime performance. I think it's gonna be hard for him to do that again.
Do you see him getting caught and maybe getting dropped by Pitbull?
I think Pitbull will be too much for him. And if I'm wrong, I would be so happy because he's a great dude. Him and his dad, I've seen him a lot through pro boxing, the shows. They have a lot of fighters in their team.
Absolutely.
That I actually like them. I respect them. But personally, I'm going for Pitbull.
Crazy fight again. I mean, a guy like Pitbull, such a polished boxer like Lamont Roach, promises to be fireworks down the line.
It's gonna be full of action. I think it's gonna be a great fight.
Coach, well, there we go. I mean, there's so much going on in boxing, but we always manage to get through it somehow.
That's right.
Brother.
That's right.
The last thing that I want from you is we had a little bit of a conversation in Las Vegas. There's some controversy. Reporter Sean Zattel saw him stand up and talk about the Muhammad Ali Act with Turki Al-Sheikh and the people, just asking basically, if there's no smoke, there's no fire, why change the rules? What's your thought process as a guy that's so close to the sport?
Look, I like what he said because very, very few would even dare to do that, especially at that moment, You know what? I'm in boxing and I have a lot of fighters, and I have to agree that sometimes keep it how it is. You know, why do we have to change it? But it might also benefit, you know, us as trainers, as managers. You know, it might benefit us because that's a new company that's coming along that might change boxing. Might be to a point where they're the only ones. We could see that happening in the future. We don't know. You know, that's why, you know, we have to play both parts. If it happens, then we got to go with it, because that's what we do. I still have at least 20 more years in this. My son's got 40 years more years in it. You know what I mean? So whichever direction it goes, we have to be okay with it. We have to learn how to go along. Did I think, you know, Max Kellerman saying boxing is dead? I think he
Canelo checked his ass.
That's beautiful. That's what I loved about Canelo. No, it's not. No, it's not. And look, if you go to the top pay-per-view events, they've all been in boxing.
Right.
Top gates, they've all been in boxing. So they can't say boxing is dead. Look at the show Saturday. 70,000 plus people.
Absolutely.
Almost 50 million in the gate.
Absolutely.
Boxing's dead?
Boxing's dead.
No way.
We want to be dead then.
No way. No way boxing's dead. Right?
Absolutely not.
So
Absolutely
Max,
not.
sure, I like Max. He's a great dude, but he shouldn't have said that.
He's a little out of line with that comment.
He was a little out of line with that, yeah. But I'm glad Canelo told him.
Excellent, and he did, man. Well, Coach, we'll let you get on about
Awesome.
your business just like normal. Again, it's Hayes with Fight Hub TV, man. Thank you for your time and graciousness as always. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, bro.